welcome to the podcast of Spotlight Ministries, illuminating the goodness of God to the world. Today's message is entitled, He Gave Gifts Unto Men. What I would like to do is shine the spotlight on what we call the fivefold ministry, or the gifts that Jesus gave unto men. If you look in the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verses 4 through 8, it reads, There is one body and one Spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ. Wherefore, he saith, when he ascended upon high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. So this verse is saying to us that when Jesus was risen from the dead, when he ascended on high, he gave gifts unto men. So that begs the question, what are those gifts? Well, I'm glad that you asked that question. So if we go on down to Ephesians 4, verse 11, we read what those gifts are. It says, He gave some apostles, some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. These are the ministry gifts that Jesus gave to the body of Christ. These are what we commonly call the fivefold ministry. So what I will now do is go over each one of those gifts, each one of those callings, each one of those ministry callings, and they will not be in order of importance. But what I will do also is compare them to what I would think would be called a special operations team that is supplied by God. First of all, let's look at the apostle. And you may say, how can there be apostles today? We see in the New Testament the 12 apostles, plus the apostle Paul, and there are others that are mentioned in the New Testament, and we see that they are called apostles, but how can there be apostles today? Well, there are. We don't typically call them apostles, although in some denominations we do. The apostle is basically a general over all the special ops team. He is the organizer. He is the head of the group. He is the one that directs, the one that sets up all the operations to carry out their operations the way that he designs them to be carried out. Next, we'll talk about the prophet. Well, do we have prophets operating in the church today? Yes, we do. This is the role of the New Testament prophet. In the lines of this special operations team, this prophet would give direction according to wisdom and knowledge, and he is focused on accurate, edifying direction. He delivers needed information to the group. Again, we're focusing on if we would take these fivefold ministry gifts, these ministry gifts that Jesus Christ gave to the body of Christ, and look at them in the light of a special operations team, this is how they would function. Then we have the evangelist. This would be a special operations missions team, the type of team that would be dropped off, go in, perform the mission, and get back to base. He runs in, he does his job, and runs out. Mission accomplished and reports back to base. Then we have what we call the teacher. The teacher would be like the sniper of the group. This teacher studies the intended target. He maneuvers into position, fires the one shot that delivers the final truth, and escapes to begin another mission. Finally, we have the pastor, and never take this job lightly. If I had to place any order of importance on any one of these fivefold ministry gifts, any one of these callings, the pastor would be at the top of the list. And this is why. The pastor is there to handle the day-to-day issues. He is there with the people. He is there ministering to the people. When the apostle gives directives, usually it is the pastor that carries those out. When the prophet comes in and gives direction according to the wisdom and knowledge, and it's an accurate, focused direction, and he delivers the information that he receives from the Spirit of God, some of that being possibly correction in some areas. Of course, the type of correction that I'm speaking of is correction in an edifying way. This is the job of the New Testament prophet. The pastor is there to help smooth things over. The pastor is there to minister to the people. When the evangelist comes in, I can look at the evangelist in another way. If there's a fishing trip going on, the evangelist is sitting in the front of the boat and he's catching fish after fish after fish, and he throws them to the back of the boat and he turns around and hollers to the person that's fishing with him, "I'll catch them, you clean them." Guess who's in the back of the boat? It's the pastor. The pastor is cleaning up the fish that the evangelist brings in. He has an awesome job. Then there's the teacher. The teacher comes in and he exposes a new doctrine. He teaches something that is true, and people look at it and they say, my gosh, maybe we have not understood this and now we do. What do we do, Pastor? So does this fivefold ministry operate in the church today? Why, certainly it does. We may use different names for each calling, but they are all there. Now let's talk about this. What is the purpose of this fivefold ministry? If we go in Ephesians 4, verses 12 through 13, we see that the fivefold ministry, these ministry gifts of the apostle, prophet, evangelist, teacher, and pastor, are for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ, until we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of fullness of Christ. These 5 gifts, these ministry gifts that Jesus gave unto men, unto the body of the church, are very necessary to operate in the church itself in order to bring completeness, fullness, and perfection to the body of Christ until we all come into the unity of the faith. This is what the job of the fivefold ministry is. And in many cases, we don't see all of the fivefold ministry operating in the church. We may see 1 or 2 or 3, but usually just 1 in each body, which is not the right prescription for attaining the goal that Jesus has intended it for attain. Look at it like this. If you would go to the gym, and if you would work out just your left arm continuously in doing preacher curls, and that's all you worked out, you would end up with one part of your body overdeveloped and the other parts of your body seriously wanting and lacking. That is what's happening in the body of Christ. When we don't participate and use the ministry gifts that Jesus has supplied for us as the church, the fivefold ministry, each one of these ministry callings, we are underdeveloped in many areas. They all work together for the good of the church. They all work together and they all complement each other. And they are very much important in developing the body of Christ into what Jesus intends it to be and has intended it to be before the beginning of time. Thank you and have a great day.